Hey guys, Ryan Osborne back with Oz Coaching and MJ, and this is kind of part two on the whole brain impairment, brain health through obviously the aging process. But really, we kind of wanted a little bit hone in on kind of the whole value of coordinating exercise, with respects to managing, I guess, brain health in any sort of active-based program. And I wanted to just, I guess, ask you, based on obviously conversations we've had, is now you've created a program, I guess, with your, cancer, with well, I guess your brain impairment clients that fall under that schedule. So just, I guess, with success, tremendous success that I've seen. So just kind of, I guess, give a brief overview of that.
Right. And like you said, a program is not just one element. I mean, it's not just like I said in the previous video, B vitamins. It's a lot more than that. Exercise is a key component for brain regeneration. Okay. And brain cells regeneration. And you can go, I'm sure, and as you know, you're familiar with, the approach of isometric exercises.
And absolutely. There's research, actually fairly new research, that is now shown that specifically isometric exercise has been shown to regenerate brain cells, which is, obviously very fascinating for one. But what obviously caught my attention when I've read that, and obviously have really been following up with that, is just isometric exercise. So I know we think of the classic kind of do like a classic bicep curl. So you're shortening muscles, or maybe you're lengthening muscles through a contraction. But isometric exercise is where you contract muscles or a muscle cell, but there's no change in the length. So specifically, this is a very basic example, but squeezing your hands together as hard as you can, or pushing against, say, a wall, is a classification of an isometric exercise. So, showing, and I just think no question that, exercise as a whole, and really getting into the fundamentals of how it impacts not just, I'd like to be stronger,
your muscles.
Not just, well, it really is, right? It's just
think, I'm going to
exercise, I get sweat going.
Right, but with brain impairment, isometric exercise under the microscope, they were able to see the brain cells regenerating, and that's a big part. So, and even like when you have someone with brain impairment, if it's vascular dementia or if it's Alzheimer's disease, you are not going to send them in the gym for an hour. It's just not going to happen. So, like you've seen them, they come in, and all you do with them is to show them a 10-minute.
Exactly.
And
it's
10 minutes, 2 to 3
times throughout the day. Because again, when we think about really, number one, just the mindset, possibly energy levels, obviously the age of the person, but the condition too, that you're not going to, like you said, get them into doing anything either intense or long withstanding. But specifically, yes, some of the key criteria of this new research has been shown that frequency trumps duration, or at least just as much more beneficial if you break it down into components of 10 minutes. And absolutely, it's been, like I said, fabulous results, to your programming and things like that.
So because a holistic approach is not, when you do, holistic, when you have a holistic practice, it's not just, for me, it's not just nutrition and supplements, it's also lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And one of them, I will refer clients to Ryan because I know that he understands the mechanisms behind what we're trying to achieve. And isometric exercises is very, like, consistency is important. And also, for brain impairment, you have to bring back, so the area of the brain that's usually, it's the front lobe or the central, or the central lobe. So the hippocampus area where the memory gets affected for Alzheimer's disease. So then you're looking at that, and you have to bring out memories. So the long-term memories will be a part of that. It's not just the short-term. So, and even research has shown that you will have, the hippocampus will start regenerating when you bring back memories. Those are really, because it will create emotion. And there's a connection with the limbic brain, So from the hippocampus, which is the memory center, to the long-term, or the emotional brain.
And that's really where, obviously, what I'm gauging and what I know of anyways is with brain impairment is just those synapses, those connections, those neurons, those bridges are almost cut off, if you will, right? And that's what causes, obviously, impairments to any degree. But, in terms of, proper sound nutrition, targeted movement, exercise is able to kind of literally, regenerate, rebuild, brain cells and kind of give back function. I just think a lot of people, like, what I just hear from my family, obviously my grandmother, that's how she passed, was dementia, and you hear of people that just, okay, do I have markers when I'm born? Because I know, like you said, the whole autopsy, they don't really know until they pass that you kind of can get a sense. But people just think, okay, once I have a cognitive issue, then I guess it's just sit back and twiddle my thumbs and wait.
And it isn't. There's a lot of, anecdotal, full program where you can start, depending if you're like really far gone in the third stage of Alzheimer's, as an example. It's a much harder, it's harder to have a major impact. But when you're on the early onset, and even the moderate, you're able to bring back the energy to the brain, because basically the brain cannot use glucose. It's like in the previous video we talked about insulin. So insulin, they become insulin resistant in the brain. So when insulin is high, it's like it opens your brain cells so that so insulin takes glucose and puts it inside the brain cell. That doesn't work anymore. And we've known forever that glucose is the only form of energy, but no, I mean ketones, and that's why
we are going to get into that conversation.
Yeah.
Stages of, I guess, dementia. Where is so-called the research, or at least your what have you seen in success, or just like in terms of the stages of dementia? Like, is there still a high percentage of slowing down or reversal in that early to mid, but I guess late stage? Is there much?
There's not a whole lot of major improvement in the late stage. In the moderate, it depends on if the program is implemented completely. I'm talking like the diet and the supplements are very, very key in when you take. Like, for example, we talk about coconut oil. Most people who come in to see me have heard that coconut oil is good for the brain when you have a brain impairment. If you're early onset, coconut oil will do, a little bit of an impact. Not a huge impact, but you need a lot more than that. So you need your B complex, you need your fish oil, you need, energy that gets inside the brain, and you need to reduce the insulin. So in order to reduce insulin, there's got to be another form of energy.
Okay.
And that's the ketones.
And that's where the ketones come in.
And that's the ketogenic diet.
Look at that. What a segue. What a segue. Stay tuned for that, because that's going to be coming up in the next series that we do together. So until now, we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Thank you.